The handcuffs are out, the sirens are screaming, and the G.W.O.A.T has officially run out of rounds because Clarissa Shields is reportedly facing her biggest fight yet, and this time, it's not in the ring, it's in her interrogation room. You cannot make this stuff up because after months of staying quiet and playing it classy, Remy Ma just walked into the precinct and dropped a nuclear bomb in the form of $900,000 worth of fraudulent bank statements and cold hard receipts that allegedly link Clarissa to a massive financial scheme. The internet is in a total meltdown as reports flood in that the police have already arrived at Clarissa's door to take her in for questioning, but the absolute coldest part of this entire saga is the betrayal that no one saw coming. Papoose has officially broken his silence, and he's not standing by Clarissa's side. He's reportedly turned over his own evidence to back up Remy, leaving Clarissa completely isolated and alone in this criminal nightmare. This has moved past celebrity gossip and straight into a federal case that could end Clarissa's career and legacy forever, as the world watches in shock to see if one of boxing's greatest champions is about to trade her world titles for an orange jumpsuit, all because the paperwork finally caught up to the fantasy. To truly understand the gravity of why the internet is currently on fire, you have to look at the massive contrast between the image Clarissa Shields has spent a decade building and the devastating criminal reality that is allegedly crashing down on her right now. On one side of the ring, we have the G.W.O.A.T, the greatest woman of all time, a multi-division world champion, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and a woman who has carried the entire sport of female boxing on her back with a level of arrogance and confidence that made her seem untouchable. She walked with a swagger that told the world she was the one in control, the one with the money, and the one who had finally found the perfect love story with Papoose. But on the other side of this contrast, we are now seeing a completely different picture being painted by Remy Ma. A picture of a woman who was allegedly living a financial lie and using a legendary rapper's name to mask a $900,000 fraud scheme that has now brought the police to her doorstep. This isn't just about a relationship falling apart, it is about the total collapse of a public persona that was built on the idea of being undisputed. While Clarissa was online bragging about how Papoose was paying for every flight, every hotel, and every luxury purse, Remy Ma was allegedly sitting back and collecting the real paperwork that showed a much darker financial trail. The contrast here is jarring because it reveals a potential double life where the world-class athlete was allegedly drowning in debt and fraudulent transactions while trying to maintain the appearance of a high-rolling celebrity. For years, the public saw Papoose and Remy as the gold standard of black love, a loyal bond that survived prison and industry drama, but when Clarissa entered the frame, she tried to convince the world that she was the new queen of that loyalty. She positioned herself as the woman who rescued Papoose from a bitter ex-wife, but the irony is that the very woman she tried to replace is the one who reportedly held the keys to her downfall. The shift in the narrative is incredible because just last week, Clarissa was the one shouting the loudest on social media, mocking Remy and claiming that her position was secure, but now that the $900,000 evidence has been handed over to the authorities, that loud confidence has turned into a desperate silence. This contrast highlights a classic rise and fall story where the pride of a champion may have led her to believe she was above the law and above the reach of her rivals. People are now looking back at Clarissa's interviews where she talked about her massive $8 million deals and her executive roles, and they are asking if any of it was real or if it was all a carefully constructed smokescreen to hide a desperate financial situation. The betrayal by Papoose adds the final, most bitter layer to this contrast. The man who was supposedly her provider and protector has now reportedly aligned himself with the messenger who brought the receipts. It paints a picture of Clarissa being played in a game she thought she was winning. While she was focused on winning the social media war and proving she was the better woman for Papoose, Remy Ma was playing a long-term game of chess, waiting for the exact moment to strike with evidence that could lead to an actual arrest. The transition from the bright lights of a sold-out arena to the cold reality of police sirens is a fall from grace that the sports world has rarely seen. It exposes the dangerous gap between social media flexing and the paperwork that exists behind the scenes. If these bank statements and receipts are as ironclad as reports suggest, then the contrast between Clarissa the champion and Clarissa the defendant will be the only thing people remember. The world is watching a legacy being dismantled brick by brick, and the most haunting part is that the very person who claimed to be the most real in the industry is now the one being accused of the ultimate fake. This backstory isn't just about a $900,000 fraud, it's about the death of an image that was too good to be true, and the emergence of a criminal case that has left a world champion with no defense left to offer. As the investigation deepens, the contrast only grows sharper. proving that in the world of high-stakes drama, the receipts will always hit harder than a knockout punch. The air is thick with tension, and the word of the day is allegedly, because in a world where reputations are built on shadows and shattered by screenshots, nothing is ever exactly what it seems on the surface. We have to tread lightly because while the streets are screaming that the handcuffs have already clicked shut, we are still operating in a space where rumors are the primary currency. Allegedly, the documents Remy Ma handed over to the authorities aren't just simple mistakes. They are being described as a calculated roadmap of financial deception that could lead to a total collapse of the G.W.O.A.T's empire. The whispers suggest that the police didn't just show up for a friendly chat. They reportedly arrived with questions that Clarissa Shields may not be able to answer without a high-powered legal team by her side. Everything we think we know right now is wrapped in a layer of intense speculation, from the exact nature of those $900,000 fraud claims to the shocking reports that Papoose has allegedly turned into the star witness against his own partner. If the rumors are true, then the image of the undisputed champion was merely a mask for a much darker reality that was playing out behind closed doors. We have to ask ourselves, is it possible that the social media flexing and the luxury lifestyle were all allegedly funded by a scheme that was destined to fail? The drama is reaching a fever pitch because the public is desperately trying to separate fact from fiction, but when the narrative involves police sirens and high-stakes criminal evidence, there allegedly starts to feel a lot more like a countdown to an inevitable truth. We are seeing a masterclass in speculative storytelling where every new leak and every cryptic post adds another brick to the wall of controversy. Allegedly, Clarissa's camp is in a state of total panic, scrambling to find a way to discredit the paperwork that Remy has brought into the light. But as the clock ticks, the dramatic weight of these allegations is pulling everyone deeper into a saga where the line between a champion's glory and a defendant's nightmare has become dangerously thin. We are all witnesses to a situation that is allegedly shifting from internet beef to a full-blown criminal investigation that could change the landscape of the boxing and hip-hop world forever. The most devastating part of this entire explosion isn't just the legal paperwork or the potential jail time. It is the deep-rooted internal tension that has turned this relationship into a psychological battlefield. We are looking at a situation where the concept of family has been weaponized, and the betrayal feels like it's coming from inside the house. Allegedly, the tension between Papoose and Clarissa didn't just start with the police arrival. It has been simmering under the surface as the weight of these $900,000 fraud claims began to leak into their private lives. Think about the internal friction of sitting across the dinner table from someone who you suspect is using your name to mask a criminal paper trail. Reports suggest that the bond that was once described as unbreakable has snapped under the pressure of Remy Ma's evidence drop. There is a specific kind of pain in realizing that the person you called your protector might actually be the one handing the keys to the precinct. The tension is reaching a breaking point because this isn't just about two people, it's about the children, the legacy, and the families caught in the crossfire of a federal investigation. Allegedly, Papoose's decision to align with Remy wasn't just about the truth. It was a survival move to protect his own name and his family's future from being dragged down by Clarissa's alleged financial sinking ship. You can almost feel the cold silence in their camp as the realization sets in that the trust is gone. Every conversation is now a calculated move, and every look is filled with suspicion. The internal walls are crumbling because you can't build a family on a foundation of fraud and secret bank statements. As the police close in, the family dynamic has shifted from a united front to a every man for himself scenario, proving that when the threat of an orange jumpsuit becomes real, even the strongest bonds can turn into the most bitter rivalries. The clock is ticking, the receipts are out, and the world is holding its breath to see if the G.W.O.A.T is about to trade her championship belts for a pair of handcuffs. This is no longer just another day in the world of celebrity drama. This is a high-stakes criminal saga that has exposed the massive cracks in a fantasy that was sold to millions. We have seen the contrast between the world-class athlete and the alleged fraudster. We have felt the internal tension that has torn a family apart, and we have watched as they allegedly started feeling more like a reality with every passing hour. Remy Ma didn't just come for a crown, she reportedly came for justice, and by handing over that $900,000 evidence trail, she has forced the entire world to look at Clarissa Shields through a completely different lens. The silence coming from Clarissa's side is deafening, and as the reports of police at her door continue to circulate, we have to ask ourselves if we are witnessing the final round of a legendary career. But now, The most important part of this story is what you think about it, because the internet is the ultimate judge and jury in a case this messy. I want you to head down to the comments right now and give me your honest take on this $900,000 bombshell. Do you think Remy Ma is telling the absolute truth and Clarissa was really running a high-level financial scheme behind the scenes? Or do you think this is a masterfully crafted setup designed by Remy and Papoose to finally take the champion down? Was the boutique photo and the Van Cleef jewelry just the tip of an iceberg that is finally hitting the surface? And more importantly, can Clarissa Shields ever recover her legacy if these police reports turn out to be the real deal? Don't just watch. Get involved in the conversation because this story is moving faster than a knockout punch and you don't want to be left behind when the next update drops. Make sure you hit that like button if you want us to keep tracking these receipts. Subscribe to the channel so you're the first to know when the mugshot or the official statement hits the wires, and turn on those notifications because in this game, the truth changes every single minute. The paperwork has been filed, the police are involved, and the receipts are finally speaking. Now it's your turn to tell us whose side you're on before the final bell rings on this entire scandal.